I was raised on the Swedish countryside, just outside of a town with a little bit less than 1,000 inhabitants. We were a couple of kids. Some of us shared our days all the way from daycare until high school. Everyone knew everyone. And if something ever happened, it did not take long before everyone found out. But the spring of 2009 was special, because one day, almost every child in middle school asked their parents the same question. What is a stroke? I was 12 when my body started feeling surprisingly heavy. A book had just escaped my grasp and fallen on the floor. I'm sitting at my bedside, staring at the book in front of me. Next to it, my brother is sitting, playing on our computer. I stand to reach for the book, but immediately I fall. And I fall headfirst into an electric drum set that I used to play. My brother turns and he finds me collapsed by the metal frames that are holding the drum set together. He cries for our mother to come while he is carrying my twitching body back to bed. I wanted to tell them both that everything was fine. And I wanted to do that with a simple gesture of my hand, but my hand could no longer move. My entire left side could no longer move. And my story could have ended there. At the hospital, the doctors told my mother that he might not make it. But if he does, I don't think that he will finish school. My family was devastated, but I was fortunately clueless. Had I known everything back then, I don't think I would be standing here today. But my recovery process went surprisingly quick. After a little bit more than a week, I am actually well enough to go home. Home to the book, home to the bed, but most importantly, home to the music. Music has always been an important part of my life. Both my parents are playing the piano, and my brother was playing the guitar. I started playing the piano when I was 8, but after a few years, I learned how to play the drums. And once I did, I realized that piano was quite boring. I was going to become a drummer. Music meant everything to me, and I was looking forward to coming back into becoming the drummer that I was aspiring to become. But it was not going to be that easy, because something was not working as it used to, up here. I did not know much about the brain back then. In fact, I don't think that many 12-year-olds do, but all I knew was that sometimes when I moved my arm, it was working. And sometimes it just froze in its path. After a while, the same started happening to my hand and fingers, and it's like I'm being stuck between bending and stretching with no way to relax. And this cramp-like phenomenon occurs to me more often when I'm engaged in something. So of course, it was at its worst when I was playing music. Depression hits and the meaning of music starts to change. Hope is fading. But before all hope was gone, my mother wanted me to meet someone. She had heard of a drummer who had developed a rehabilitation method for people like I who had suffered from a stroke. Ronnie Gardner is his name, and he was living here in Stockholm. So one day, we visit this Ronnie Gardner in his own apartment. I remember Ronnie sitting me down in private, and he's talking to me about the beauty of music and rhythm, and how practicing rhythm helps stimulating your brain. As he was talking to me, suddenly he just started tapping his hand against his knee. He did this rhythmically. And he just kept looking at me and smiling, sharing the beauty of drumming and rhythm. And then his other hand jumped in as well. After a while, both of his legs jumped in as well. All of his 4 limbs were engaged in rhythm independently from each other. I was sitting there listening to a rhythmic masterpiece, while Ronnie was still smiling and talking about the beauty of drumming and how it is activating your brain. Inspired, I of course wanted to do the same, but quickly I realized that my left side could not keep up with my intentions. But that was fine. Ronnie shifted my focus from my body to the brain. Not the left side of the brain that I thought it would have been, but the right side. He taught me that the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. In this one meeting, Ronnie taught me so much, and he became my greatest inspiration. And you still are to this day, Ronnie. So we left Ronnie's apartment with a sheet of assignments. These were rhythm patterns that I was supposed to practice using my arms and legs, clapping and stomping. It was simple, fun, and progressively challenging as well. But the best part was that it was working. After a few months of practicing this, I was feeling a development in my cramp-like phenomena. They became more and more controlled. Through music and rhythm, Ronnie had helped me regain a sense of bodily control, and I gained hope, at least for a while. I was still 12 when my body started feeling surprisingly light. I'm sitting at my bedside and I'm staring into a bucket. In front of me, my brother is sitting, playing on our computer. After a while, the bucket becomes filled. Just like that, and I'm staring into more than a liter of my own blood. Apparently, ever since the stroke, I had been getting ulcers in my stomach, and one of these ulcers had ruptured a blood vessel. I was having these ulcers because of a medication that I was taking. And I was having this medication as a precaution because no one knew why I got my stroke. So after a brief visit to the hospital again, I am once again home and recovering. I'm lucky to be alive, but I was not feeling that lucky. This time, hopelessness has completely overwhelmed me. But before all hope was gone, my mother had something to say. I was sharing the frustration of the life I was living to her many times. And one time she told me that the bumblebee cannot fly, but it does so anyways. Apparently its body is too big for its smaller wings, but it flies anyways. And I believe that she said this as a metaphor to explain that sometimes life does not make sense. The mystery of the flying bumblebee became the tool that I needed to survive through the darkest times of my teens. If the bumblebee can fly, then I can survive. So the years went in perseverance, but with some developments as well. I kept practicing Ronnie's rhythm methods until I had enough bodily control to be able to play music again. But with my limited speed and coordination, it, of course, never felt the same. But after about 5 years, I remember telling myself, "Good job, Sebastian. You really tried your best to get back. But now it is time to look forward." I was in high school, and I was surrounded by my loving family and friends. They were there, not for the one that I was, but for the one that I had become. And that way, I got to make peace with the stroke. There was, however, one burning question still lingering in my head. Why did I get the stroke? Nobody knew. Not even the doctors could tell. But I wanted to know why. In a way, I wanted to learn how the bumblebee can fly. So I needed to start somewhere. And I started here at Karolinska Institutet. I studied biomedicine, which meant that for the first time, I was going to move. The countryside boy was moving into the capital. And for the first time in my life, I was going to be alone. It was scary. It was challenging, but it was necessary. In parallel to learning about how the human body works at university, I started to learn about how my body works at home. In my everyday life, I was forced into situations that demanded me to use both of my hands, whether they worked or not. It could be anything from cleaning to cooking to anything in between, really. I just needed both of my hands. But the beauty about living alone is that no one is waiting for you. Suddenly, you have all the time you need to do what you need to do. So after a few moments, I allowed myself to make exercises out of my everyday life. Much like Ronnie's rhythm patterns, I wanted them to be simple, fun, and progressively more challenging as well. But I needed to start somewhere, so I started with something simple, like opening a door, for example. When I'm grabbing a door handle with my left hand, my entire hand becomes completely clenched, and it can take me up to minutes to physically let go without any assistance. But after a few attempts, I realized that certain angles are better and worse for the tensions that I'm getting. After a while, I also realized that if I'm managing to just get one finger out, the others will follow. I also realized that if I'm massaging certain points, they will help the hand to relax more. Suddenly, I had developed tools that will help me in my everyday life, that will help me push myself further and improve my coordination. Suddenly, I had developed tools that would make me overcome my own challenges, my own way. There are countless of ways that we can overcome problems in our life. Society, family, and friends have taught us many of these options. But are you really wrong for not picking them? What matters in the end is that you overcome your obstacle. Once I learned that lesson, I was finally able to overcome one of my greatest fears that could have been the end of me so many times, and that is the fear of failure. If I would have been to compare myself, I would most probably fail, and I would keep failing for the rest of my life. But I don't see it like that anymore. Whenever I see a problem, I never see a reason to compare. Instead, I find an opportunity to develop and learn. So with that, I would like to ask you, what are your obstacles in life? In the end, I never found out why I got my stroke. After a while, I actually stopped looking. I was too distracted by the fact that my coordination was still improving, that somehow my brain was still doing work that helped me improving my coordination. Everything from opening a door handle to writing my own exams by hand, I kept challenging my coordination further and further, and it kept improving. I even started playing music again, and it felt beautiful. I was having momentum, and momentum made life beautiful. So time once again flew, and there I was, 24 years old. I had lived as long with the stroke as I had without it, and I was given an opportunity. As part of my research training, I was going to be about to see my own brain. I decided that I wanted to see it. And what we saw that day was that I, ever since the stroke, have been having a hole in my brain. When I looked at this hole, I thought to myself, had I known everything back then, I don't think I would be standing here today. But there I was, and I was looking at this hole, and I was feeling completely amazed. I had been surviving a stroke, rehabilitating, regaining my coordination so much, and now finding out the fact that I have a big hole in my head. It completely did not make sense. It was completely incomprehensible. But there it was. I was completely flabbergasted over it. And it felt amazing. The power of the brain is amazing. And yet there is still so much that we don't know about it. It's like a mystery, like a flying bumblebee. Do you think we actually know how the bumblebee can fly? I'm not going to tell you now. I'm going to leave that up to each and every one of you to find out if you want to. But before you do, I just want to ask you this question. How will you react when you learn how the bumblebee can fly? Will you be inspired? Will you be disappointed? Will you see it as a victory or a failure? Had I known everything back then, I would not have been standing here today. But now I know, and I could not be happier.